Hello, everyone, and welcome to Star Diamond's live event. Today, we're joined with their CEO, Ewan Mason. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the chat. And as always, this event is being recorded, so you can watch the replay in the coming days if you wish. Now, yesterday, Star Diamond provided a big update after hours. Ewan, you said you're planning on closing this acquisition by Q1, and you did just that. But I won't steal your thunder. Why don't you provide us a quick summary of yesterday's news before I ask you a couple questions? But the floor is yours.
All right, Cal, thanks. There's a first for everything, and I have been saying for some time we were going to close this transaction, and I'm happy and excited to say we have done just that. And we will now own 100% of this asset, which Star Diamond and its predecessors have never owned before. So it truly is a step up. And so we're going to get the whole property back, which is worth, in our PEA, over a couple of $1 billion. In addition to that, we're going to get, some cash to help us pay our fees throughout this whole process, as well as reclamation bonding provided by Rio Tinto for a 5-year period to allow us to continue with the project. In addition to that, of course, all the on-site buildings for the sample plant, as well as the core sheds, and of course the trench cutter. So this is a hell of a good deal for our shareholders, and it was very generous of Rio to allow us to do this, and they, according to them, remain very supportive.
Excellent. Now, Rio is obviously a big name in the industry. What, if anything, is lost by Rio no longer being part of the project?
Well, I mean, it would have been nice had Rio decided to build a mine, but they did not, and it's not in our purview to have made that decision for them. So I think, there's only good things coming out of this. First of all, the last deal we cut with them back in 2021, gave us only 25% of the project and basically ensured our dilution quite significantly with respect to catching up on all the funding. So we were going to have to chunk out some real money, and our goal had been to push things out a little bit, give us a 5-year breather so we could stay in the project. And that's what happened. And so, I think now, given what we've got here, I think it's Rio's loss and our gain, but we appreciate the effort they made to get this to us.
So are you happy with the terms of Rio's departure?
Look, this is a killer deal. As a former investment banker, I couldn't even conceive of this type of deal ever being agreed to. And it just goes to show you, in my mind, the capacity that Rio has to help us to move this forward. We sat through a March 2022 joint venture meeting with Rio Tinto, in which they presented 240 pages of their plan to go forward. And this plan included things like an 84-year mine life. It included their analysis that type 2A percentages in these samples were not 26, they're 33%. They also compared it to the biggest and best mines in the world and said this was right up there with them and perhaps even better. And they verified all the work we've done over the years. We got a lot of people that poo-pooed our work on this, including some engineer firms with respect to pit slope and stuff like that. Well, Rio certified it all and said, absolutely, that'll work and perhaps even better. And to be quite honest with you, I was shocked at how positive they were on it. Unfortunately, diamonds are not a big part of Rio Tinto's business, and it was explained to me that it's 1% of their net income, and so this project would be less than 1% of their net income, so it's not something they were willing to go forward on, and they've had their own press release on that too. So again, this is a win for us in no uncertain terms, and this is a barn blazer of a deal for us and our shareholders and the province of Saskatchewan and all the peoples associated with it.
Certainly. And I see questions are trickling in, so I might as well start addressing some in the chat here. If you did just come in, we are doing a Q&A, so feel free to ask questions. But the first one is, will you receive all of the info and data from Rio?
We already have all of it. And the only thing we don't get are any interim corporate documents, board documents that they presented to their own board. But all the project data we already have now.
Excellent, thank you. And what are you going to be doing with the trench cutter rig? Can you rent it out and make some monthly rent to help pay the bills?
Well, great question. In fact, we've had a couple of inbounds already about it. And suffice to say, you rent that out for 6 months because you wouldn't rent it for any less because there's a lot of transport and logistics involved with it. That'll probably pay for a whole year's exploration work on another property. So, yeah, definitely good looking at it and are talking to a couple of parties about it.
Now, Bruce is asking a question here. Are we hindered in obtaining financing outside of Rio? Do we consider flow-through shares? Is that an option?
Well, we did finance even when Rio owned a portion of it. Now they do not. So I would have to expect that, subject to the diamond market being okay, we will be able to raise money. And of course, flow through is a big part of it. It'll be a big part of our feasibility work going forward. But again, the work we're doing right now is designed to eliminate a massive cost for a feasibility study. And we're talking about orders of magnitude less in expenditures than we had originally thought. So it's all good.
Excellent. Thank you. Brett's just wondering about your working capital, your burn rate, and how do you plan on raising funds to get this to the finish line?
Well, basically, our top executives are all, part-time, and no one's been paid for a while, so we need to catch up on that. We did get the $4 million from Rio. A large portion of that will go to paying outstanding bills like legals, which we haven't paid. We are looking at different ways of raising money to get this across the finish line towards a mine decision. And, I can't really say too much about that, but there will be a requirement to raise some money. Just how we do that and where and when is the question.
I have a unique question here by 604 Paul. He's just looking to confirm, can you speak freely about the project without Rio's consent today moving forward? I don't know if there was any restrictions prior or not, but are you freed up to talk more other than regulatory restrictions?
Absolutely, 100%. We have all the information. We can now say what we like. Obviously, we have fiduciary duty and stuff like that, so we can't talk garbage, and I would never do that. But we are going to start, telling the real story here and moving this forward. And there are so many pieces to this puzzle now that we've been working on for the last year and a half that are going to come out, including the carbon capture study we put out, including things like Indigenous involvement, not just employees, but partnerships, government involvement. As you've seen previously, we've been marketing this in the Middle East. I'm in West Palm Beach today meeting with potential new investors. This is a juggernaut, and it's not going to stop anytime soon.
Jarrett seems rather excited that you now have all the data from Fort Alacorn. Is there anything that Rio might have discovered? He also comments, how big is the deposit? But was there anything that you gained from gaining access to all this information?
Well, in addition to Rio verifying our work, most particularly the pit slopes and the ability of certain layers of sediment and rock to withhold water and stuff like that. What we really got out of this, in my mind, was the Northern Orion concept. I mean, they looked at that and they, greater than 50% Type 2A diamonds. They wanted to go and start trench cutting that tomorrow, and they think that'll be the real, if you will, big ass pipe. And not that there's anything wrong with Star and Orion South. These are also great pipes, but to have 3 times the Type 2A, I mean, their concept was the possibility of monster, and I mean monster diamonds in Orion North. Truly incredible. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, and if the market turns and we get a lot more interest in the story, we're going to go punch some holes in that too, because I'd like nothing better than 1,000-carat diamonds sitting on our table in the office.
Maybe continue on with this thought, because there is a comment about the quality and size of Orion North. So people that might not be familiar with Orion North, maybe provide an overview of what gets you so excited about this prospective target.
One word: geochemistry. The geochem shows the propensity for the right type of olivine crystallization in garnets that produce these big Type 2A diamonds. The only problem with Orion North is there hasn't been enough sampling done on it yet to unearth one of these. So naturally, we'd be very much in favor of punching some holes down there. But, it's a 2-year permitting process to get going on that. And it's probably not cheap. It's probably going to be a $10 million project to do that. But based on the studies we've reviewed from Rio, those diamonds are there, period.
Okay, so I'm going to try and compile a few questions together. So you are now the 100% owner of Fort Alacorn. Is there any possibility, and I think these questions all derive to like how to avoid dilution in the future. Is there any possibility of spinning off a standalone pipe and the second question that an individual in the audience was asked is if there's any interested parties. I know you just acquired 100%, but any other interested parties in purchasing the assets?
Well, given that this is our first day having owned the whole thing, I can honestly say that no one called me up this morning and offered to buy the whole company. But I have had approaches in the past from, hedge fund types with ideas about how to put the story in play. That's not what we're up for. We want to increase the value of this project to the benefit of all of our shareholders. And spinning off a pipe is probably not a good idea because, we've got all three of them now, and the market at large largely doesn't seem to care. So spinning one off, I don't see how that would work. But we're interested in limiting dilution. There is absolutely no way we're doing a rollback or anything like that. Look at Burgundy Diamond; they a billion shares outstanding. So we're going to do this in the best interest of shareholders and stakeholders. And where I come from, that's the hard charge mode.
Thank you. You answered another individual's question there. Alex Mort stating a fact here. Where Star went from 25% to 100% owner of the property, and that was where Rio went from 75 to 19%. Why hasn't the share price not moved today?
Well, to be blunt, I didn't expect the share price would do much. This is not the end. This is the beginning. There are hard yards to cover now, and we need to get going with it, and we're going to do just that. But there's no magic wand here. There's no panacea. It's called hard work and investment and results, and that's what we're aiming for. The stock's up a little bit today. There's a little more volume, but by and large, I think there's a lot of people just sitting there waiting to see what happens. If we had interest in the diamond market at large, if there was, some sort of return to normal diamond pricing and purchasing levels in the near term, I think that's where you're going to see it, because that is the one factor that we do not control.
Certainly. Greg's wondering, and maybe provide a little clarity. So we know you received all the data from Rio. Is that including the greenfield drilling outside but near the Falk properties?
It included all the information that was done on claims which were part of the joint venture. Any claims that they have that were not part of the joint venture were not part of the transaction.
Okay, thank you for that.
And we've done that to death, by the way. When they said they were going to drill that, we're like, yeah, whatever. Thanks, we've done it.
Mm-hmm. Sure, right. Brett's wondering about any additional board members. Do you plan on adding any? Where are you looking at getting them from?
Yeah, absolutely. And in the near term, we will be adding representatives from our Indigenous communities and making some announcements about that as we go forward. These talks have been well underway for a year now. But as one of my former clients told me, it takes 50 cups of tea to establish trust with the Indigenous community. And after all the years of how poorly they've been treated. So, yeah, it's taken a while, but we're just about to announce that involvement. So hang tight.
Thank you. Okay, Brent's wondering, have you thought of talking to Mountain Province? Maybe provide information what or who is Mountain Province, because I'm unfamiliar with this.
Well, look, Mountain Province owns 49% of a mine they share with De Beers. The only difference between us and them is their mine's operating. They do not have the same quality of diamonds we have. And they've been under quite a bit of pressure too. You take a look at their share price, you'd be horrified to see what's happened and the amount of money that's gone down the drain over there. But it's a mine that makes a profit. And we're here to talk to anybody. It would not make any sense, I don't think, for us to inbound them. We don't want somebody else's penny stock. Honestly, we don't. We need to move this project forward, buttress it, provide some real value for interested parties, and then see what happens.
Thank you. You've been a good sport. There's question after question. We've been firing them off at you. Really, the only one, unless there's more questions that come in from the audience, is that now that Star Diamond is the sole owner of the project, what does the path look like now moving forward?
Well, in the main channel, there is the resource upgrade, which is expected around the end of June. Don't hold me to that because it might take an extra couple of weeks. Assuming that's all tickety-boo, then it's right into the pre-feasibility, into the feasibility. We'll be furthering our carbon capture studies. We'll be furthering our discussions with the Indigenous communities. We're also going to announce a couple of things that are interesting in the coming weeks with respect to how we identify our diamonds. And when you take a look at our diamonds, they will be conflict-free out of Canada. And that is priceless, I think, in the diamond market, particularly what's going to happen in the fall with the complete sanctioning of all Russian diamonds. It's just going to be, it's going to be horrific for the wholesalers and the diamond cutters. And I think that's going to engender a lot more interest in our story because we are in Saskatchewan. Our Keewatin diamonds are conflict-free and Canadian.
Well, Ewan, I think we got all the questions addressed. If anyone has questions at all, feel free to contact Star Diamond directly. You can find their information on their website. And if you did come in a little late, do not worry. This is being recorded, so the replay will be available. There was a comment here that they really appreciate your forthright and transparency. Whenever there's big news, I was telling you this before we went live, is that you're always ready to have a webinar to address any comments, concerns, queries of the like. So any closing remarks before we close things off, Ewan?
Look, it's been a long, tough 4 years in this, and prior to that, 3 years of us kind of looking around and going, what's going on? But all I can say to really, to verify the situation is Rio Tinto spent an awful lot of money on this, had an awful lot of people all over the globe working on this, and came out all thumbs up on this. The fact that they're walking away has nothing to do with the project whatsoever. They'll tell you that. In fact, they're more shocked than us. A whole legion of Rio employees were planning on living in Saskatoon and retiring there with this 84-year mine life. So what I would say to you is, we perhaps have caught a bit of a breath here. We're not going to get the death spiral of dilution, but it's up to us now to move this forward, and we're going to do just that. We're going to do things that people haven't even thought of before. We're going to do this a different way, and I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you'll all stay with us, and away we go.
Excellent. Ewan, thank you for the update. Much appreciated, and you enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, Kyle. Thank you.